Okay, so we are starting a new chapter today. We are reading from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila, chapter 9. Would somebody like to read the summary paragraph before we start?
I can read, Prabhuji.
Go ahead, Paul.
Okay. The desired tree of devotional service. A summary of chapter 9 has been given as follows by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his Amrut Parva Bhashyam. In this chapter, the author of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita has devised a figurative example by describing the desired tree of bhakti. He considers Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is known as a Vishwambhara, to be the gardener of this tree because he is the main personality who has taken charge of it. As the supreme enjoyer, he enjoyed the fruit himself and distributed them as well. The seed of the tree was first sown in Navadip, the birth site of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and then the tree was brought to Purushottam Kshetra, Jagannath Puri, and then to Vrindavana. The seed fructified first in Srila Madhavendra Puri and then in his disciple Sri Ishwar Puri. It is figuratively described that both the tree itself and the trunk of the tree are Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Paramananda Puri and 8 other great sannyasis are like the spreading root of the tree. From the main trunk, there extend 2 special branches, Advaita Prabhu and Sri Nityananda Prabhu. And from those branches grew other branches and twigs. The tree surrounds the entire world, and the fruits of the tree are to be distributed to everyone. In this way, the tree of the Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu intoxicated the entire world. It should be noted that this is a figurative example meant to explain the mission of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Hare
Jai
Krishna.
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai.
Jai.
Thank you, Prabhu. So, this is one of the most interesting chapters, and it really talks about the mission of Lord Chaitanya. And a very nice figurative example of a tree has been used to describe how Lord Chaitanya spread the holy name all over the country and how he was supported, assisted by so many other people. So the whole chapter describes this tree, how it's formed, how it's watered, what the branches are, etc. So what I did was I found a picture that I'm going to share with you. And let's see if I can find it. Yeah. Share. Okay. Can you see it?
Wonderful.
Can you see it?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So,
Where did you find this picture from, Prabhuji?
internet though,
Okay.
but notice something. There's a person watering the root of this tree. Who is this person?
Maybe the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Lord Chaitanya.
Yeah.
Okay. Then you see the main trunk here.
That is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu too.
Yeah. So main trunk Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also.
Yeah.
Then you have branches. Who is this branch?
Advaita Prabhu.
Advaitacharya.
Advaitacharya.
This branch.
Shrivas Prabhu.
Okay. Who is this branch?
Gadadhar Pandit.
Gadadhar.
And who's this branch?
Nityanand.
Right. And then there are many other branches. We'll talk
Yes.
about all that. And then there are branches of the branches, sub-branches,
Yeah.
right? And then we'll talk about different roots also that you don't see in the picture, but there are 9 roots that we'll see. And then you have the twigs and the leaves and all this. The
Yeah.
whole thing is there. Whole thing is called Bhakti Vrikshatri or Bhakti Kalpa Vrikshatri. What does Kalpa Vriksha mean?
Desire tree.
Desire fulfilling tree.
Huh.
So this is a desire fulfilling tree of devotional service.
Hmm.
I just want to show you the picture first, then when we read the texts, it'll make more sense. Okay.
Prabhuji,
Haji.
same picture we saw on the Dwarkapuri. In the temple, starting on the left side is such a big picture, the same thing.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
it was so good when I saw. Oh my God.
Yeah, that's great. That's
Yeah.
great. So,
The
so
Dwarkapuri
we're
temple.
going to discuss that tree in this chapter. It's called the Desire Tree of Devotional Service. Text 1. Tam Srimat Krishna Chaitanya Devam Vande Jagat Guru Yasyanukampaya Swapi Mahabdhim Santoret Sukham. Translation. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto the spiritual master of the entire world, Lord Shri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, by whose mercy even a dog can swim across a great ocean. So let's see the purport and I'll explain this. Any volunteers to read this purport?
I can read it, Prabhuji.
Go ahead, Prabhuji.
Purport. Sometimes it is to be seen that a dog can swim in the water for a few yards and then come back to the shore. Here, however, it is stated that if a dog is blessed by Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he can swim across an ocean. Similarly, the author of Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, placing himself in the helpless condition, states that he has no personal power, but by the desire of Lord Chaitanya expressed through the Vaishnavas and the Madan Mohan Vigraha, it is possible for him to cross the transcendental ocean to present Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Ki Jai.
Chaitanya Charitamrita.
So, Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita.
So Krishnadas Kaviraj Prabhu is comparing the writing of the book Chaitanya Charitamrita with an ocean and putting himself in the form of a dog, an example of a dog, saying that a dog can swim a little distance on its own. It goes a little bit, a few feet in and comes out. But if he has Lord Chaitanya's mercy, he can swim across a whole ocean. So similarly saying writing Chaitanya Charitamrita is like swimming through the whole ocean, and his condition is helpless like a dog. But by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, expressed by the desire, or rather through the desires of the Vaishnavas in Vrindavan and Shri Madan Mohan Vigraha in Vrindavan, it's possible for him to write this book, which is like crossing the ocean. So again, he's showing his humility. Text 2. Jai Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Gaura Chandra Jai Jai Advaita Jai Jai Nityananda. All glories to Shri Krishna Chaitanya, who's known as Gaura Hari. All glories to Advaita Acharya and Nityananda Prabhu. Why was Lord Chaitanya called Gaura Hari?
Because he was the Lord himself. Okay. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Because of his color complexion, he is known as Gaura, golden, and Hari, because he is Krishna himself.
Right. So who's known as Gaura Hari. All glories to Advaita Acharya and Nityananda. Text 3. Jai Jai Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Gana Sarvabhishta Purti Hai Tu Jahar Smarana. All glories to the devotees of Lord Chaitanya, headed by Shivas Thakur. In order to fulfill all my desires, I remember their lotus feet. Purport. The author here continues to follow the same principles of worship of the Panch Tattva that are described in the 7th chapter of Adi Lila. So what did we understand in the 7th chapter of Adi Lila? We understood that if we want to succeed in our devotional service, we must remember the lotus feet of the Panch Tattvas.
Correct.
That is why we always go Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda before we chant one round. Because we want to be able to be successful in chanting the round, which means doing it attentively without offenses. So we pray to their lotus feet every time. Okay. Text 4. Shri Rupa Sanatana Bhatta Raghunath, Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Das Raghunath. I also remember the 6 Goswamis. Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath, Shri Jiva Gopal Bhatta Das Raghunath. Why? Let's see the purport. Who wants to read the purport?
I'll do, Prabhuji.
Go to the Mataji.
This is the purpose for writing transcendental literature. A sentimentalist and a sentimentalist who has no Vaishnava qualifications cannot produce transcendental writings. There are many fools who considered Krishna Lila to be a subject of art and who writes or paint picture about the pastimes of Lord Krishna with the gopis, sometimes depicting them in a manner practically absent. These fools take pleasure in material sense gratification, but one who wants to make advancement in spiritual life must scrupulously avoid their literatures unless one is a servant of Krishna and the Vaishnavas, as Krishnadasa Kaviraja Goswami presents himself to be in offering respects to Lord Chaitanya, his associates and his disciples. One should not attempt to write transcendental literature. Hare Krishna.
Right, Hare Krishna. So, very clearly explained who should write it and what is the process for writing it. And we discussed it before last week that transcendental literature cannot be written by a man, by any man, unless they receive direct mercy of the Lord and the Lord's devotees. And we talked about how Prabhupada said, I read my own books. Somebody said, why do you read that you wrote it? He said, no, I did not. Krishna sat in front of me and dictated to me. And that's the only way you can write a real transcendental literature. All the people who say, well, I'm writing this, I'm writing that on their own, Prabhupada is saying they're fools. And those who read them are fools also. And it actually can do you harm. Again, we discussed also how we should not hear Krishna Katha from non-devotees, because hearing it from non-devotees is like drinking milk that has been touched by the lips of a snake, very poisonous, injurious for our health. So once again, it's explaining the same thing. You have to have Vaishnava qualifications. What are the main Vaishnava qualifications in the context we're talking about? In this context, I don't want to hear 126.
Humility. No?
Humility, absolutely. That's the number one. And with humility goes surrender.
Yeah.
Right? With that also goes the desire to accept the instructions. With that also goes the feeling of, but for Krishna's help, but for Vaishna's help, I'm not able to do anything. That's all part of humility. So Prabhupada was saying here that without those Vaishnava qualifications, nobody can produce transcendental writings. And similarly, even the Vaishnavas, they need mercy of Lord Chaitanya, his associates, his disciples, before we started to this. And we know, as we explained before, Krishna's Kaviraj got all those blessings and mercy from these people before he started writing it, and that is why he was so successful in doing it. Text 5. ये सब प्रसादे लिखी चैतन्य लीला गुण जानी व न जानी करी आपन शोधन. It is by the mercy of all these Vaishnavas and Gurus that I attempt to write about the pastimes and qualities of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Whether I know it or know not, whether I know it or know not, it is for self-purification that I write this book. This is another humility. I'm not writing it to get glory. I'm not writing to get famous. I'm not writing to get money. I'm writing it for my own purification. I serve in this way, I become purified. So let's read the purport.
I can read.
Right?
This is the sum and substance of transcendental writing. One must be an authorized Vaishnava, humble and pure. One should write transcendental literature to purify oneself, not for credit. By writing about the pastimes of the Lord, one associates with the Lord directly. One should not ambitiously think, I shall become a great author. I shall be celebrated as a writer. These are material desires. One should attempt to write for self-purification. It may be published or it may not be published, but that does not matter. If one is actually sincere in writing, all his ambitions will be fulfilled. Whether one is known as a great author is incidental. One should not attempt to write transcendental literature for material name and fame. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So did Krishnadas Kaviraj write it to become famous?
No.
No, but he became famous anyway.
Mm.
That's the point.
Yep.
Right? If Krishna's mercy is there, will automatically become famous. So anyway, the whole point is, as I said, transcendental work should not be done for becoming famous or making money or getting credit. The main purpose is to purify yourself.
Correct.
At the same time, if you're not a pure and humble Vaishnava, you can't do it anyway, which is a kind of it's a circle, But the point is, only a pure and humble Vaishnava will get the mercy after asking for it, mercy of the Lord, the devotees, and the Guru. So you notice that in the previous verse, he mentioned all the 6 Goswamis who are his Shiksha Gurus. So he took permission from them also before starting the book. Okay, number 6. Now the real thing starts here. Malakara Swayam Krishna Premamar Taru Swayam Data Bhokta Tattva Phalanam Yastam Chaitanyam Ashray. Translation: I take shelter of the Supreme Personality of God, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who himself is the tree of transcendental love of Krishna, is a gardener and also the bestower and enjoyer of his fruits. So I'm going to share the screen again. Okay, so look at this again. Watering, who waters a tree? The gardener,
Gardener.
right? So Lord
Yeah.
Chaitanya is the gardener, right? Who's the tree? Lord Chaitanya.
Chaitanya Prabhu. Lord
Chaitanya.
Chaitanya.
So Lord Chaitanya is the gardener, Lord Chaitanya is the tree,
Yes.
Mhm.
right? Who the tree is giving the fruits. So therefore Lord Chaitanya is giving the fruits.
Hmm.
Right? Who's enjoying the fruits? Lord Chaitanya is enjoying the fruits.
Bruce, yeah.
Other people also. So Lord Chaitanya is the gardener, is the tree, is the
Enjoy.
bestower of the
Fruits.
fruits, and is the enjoyer of the fruits.
Enjoy.
This is called Achintya Shakti,
Hmm.
beyond our conception.
Yep.
How can the gardener become a tree? And we say tree does not enjoy its fruits, but this tree is enjoying its fruits, right?
Yep.
Inconceivable. Okay. Text 7. प्रभु कहे आमी विश्वंभर नाम धरी नाम सार्थक होए यदि प्रेमे विश्व भरी. Lord Chaitanya thought, my name is Vishwambhar. When did he get that name? Anybody knows? In Adi Lila, Madhya Lila, Anti Lila, Navadvip, Vrindavan, Jagannath Puri, where? And when did he get that name?
His Nana gave him this word, right?
Exactly. Around his birth time, just shortly after, Nana Nilama Chakravarti gave him that name, Vishwambhar. So he says, my name is Vishwambhar, one who maintains the entire universe. Its meaning will be actualized if I can fill the whole universe with the love of Godhead. So I'll nourish the whole world with the love of Godhead, love of Krishna. So that is Lord Chaitanya's thought process. Text 8. एत चिंति लैला प्रभु मालाकार धर्म नवद्वीपे आरंभिला अनुद्यान कर्म. Thinking in this way, he accepted the duty of a planter, meaning the gardener, and began to grow a garden in Navadvip. So started this in Navadvip, right? When did he start? Like, what was the major incident after which he started doing this? Major life-changing incident in the life of Lord Chaitanya.
Is it when his brother took sannyas?
No. It is when he got initiated by Shishwar Puri in Gaya, and he came back and became a devotee and started distributing that. Okay. Text 9. Shri Chaitanya Malakar Prithvi te ani bhakti kalpataru lopila sinchi ichha pani. Thus the Lord brought the desire tree of devotional service to this earth and became his garden. Where did he bring it from? Where did he bring this devotional tree from?
Golok Vrindavan.
Golok Vrindavan, exactly.
Vrindavan.
He brought it from Golok Vrindavan to the material world, to this planet Earth, and
Yeah.
then became his gardener. But gardener is watering, right? One of the main jobs, not everything, but one of the main jobs of the gardener is to water the tree. Sorry, sow the seed and then water the tree. So he sowed the seed. We'll talk about that. What was the water that he used?
Sankirtan, Prabhuji.
No, the answer is right here in this verse.
Devotional service.
Read the verse, the translation.
His will.
His will.
Ichha pani.
Ichha pani.
Pani, will pani.
So his own will was the water.
Yep.
What does that mean?
To spread
Desire to give love.
It was his desire to do this. It was his will to do this.
Yes.
He watered it with his own will. So the gardener is watering the tree with his own will and becomes a tree himself, and then as a tree bestows the fruits and then enjoys it himself.
Chaitanya.
Wonderful tree. Right? And that's all Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Okay? These are purports, very interesting purport. Who wants to read it?
I can read through it.
Please go ahead.
In many places, devotional service has been compared to a creeper. One has to sow the seed of the devotional creeper, Bhakti Lata, within his heart. As he regularly hears and chants, the seed will fructify and gradually grow into a mature plant, and then produce the fruit of devotional service, namely love of Godhead, which the gardener, Malakara, can then enjoy without impediments.
Thank you. So, we often hear the term Bhakti Lata Bij. What does Bhakti Lata mean?
the branch of Bhakti. Bhakti branch.
Now, why do we call it Lata? What's the meaning?
Creeper,
Huh?
Creeper, yeah.
creeper,
Why do we call it creeper?
because it goes upwards and grows.
No, there's more than that.
It goes with
It is a delicate and vulnerable to other obstacles to grow.
True, but there's something more, even more important.
it needs a support.
Yes, it cannot grow without support. So, whose support does it need?
Spiritual master.
Vaishnava and Guru.
Yes. So, the Vaishnavas, the devotee association, and the mercy of the Lord, of the Guru, and of course, the support of the scriptures. So, this is very dependent upon that support. That's what's called creeper. And that's what you were saying, is also very delicate. Can be destroyed very quickly, very easily. So, point being made here is that in many places, devotee service has been compared to a creeper. One has to sow the seed of the devotional creeper within his heart and then water it by regular hearing and chanting. Then what happens is that the seed fructifies and then eventually grows into a mature plant. So that mature plant is the tree we're talking about here. Okay, because mature plant is very difficult to destroy. Creeper can be destroyed very easily. Okay, and then mature tree is what produces the fruits. The fruit is, what's the fruit?
Love of God.
Love of God, love of Krishna.
Hmm.
Okay, so that tree of devotional service that produces love of Krishna. Okay, which the gardener can enjoy without impediments. What are some of the impediments? Sorry, I can't hear you.
All the anarthas, Prabhuji.
All the anarthas, yes. What else?
Offenses, everything comes
Offenses,
into
anarthas. Yeah, our own mind can be an impediment, right? Relatives, etc. Right? So all those things can be impediments. So then once the love of God is produced, there are no impediments. Text 10.
So, Prabhuji, a question here.
Ah.
So, it's a very nice, it's a delicate, it's a creeper as we are talking about. So, it's a vulnerable right in the beginning. In a devotional service, as we are growing,
Sorry,
we are
say it
very
again?
vulnerable and we need a
Vulnerable, yes.
we need a good support. But once it grows as a plant, I say at the higher level, then, the bhakti itself can sustain. Is that how you understand?
Yeah, so Prabhu, there are two ways of looking at it. One way that describes somewhere else in Chaitanya Charitamrita, that actually by Lord Chaitanya, that as we grow and water properly the devotional creeper, it keeps on going up and up and up until it penetrates the layer, the boundary between the universe, material universe and the spiritual universe. Keeps going all the way from Vaikuntha Dham, all the way to Golok Vrindavan Dham. And there it wraps itself around the lotus feet of the Lord. When that happens, now nothing can stop it. So that's the creeper part. If it's a mature tree, it's a lot harder to uproot a mature tree. Right? And it is possible. So, for example, a huge banyan tree. And I've seen banyan trees that are cut in the middle and the highway passes through the tree. I've seen California. So some banyan trees are so big. I've seen banyan tree in Maui, near Hawaii, which is 1.5 acres. One tree in 1.5 acres of land.
Yeah.
But those trees can be uprooted by, serious typhoon or hurricane or whatever. But in California, there are also trees called redwood trees. Redwood trees do not have deep roots. What they have is the roots are pretty shallow, but they intertwine with other trees' roots. So you may have 1,000 trees, all their roots will be intertwined. Are you following what I'm saying? The roots are connected to each other of different trees. So therefore, those trees never fall down no matter what kind of typhoon or hurricane comes. Because all other roots are supporting them.
What type of fruit is there then?
No, forget that. I'm just making a different example. Okay?
Yeah.
I'm giving the example of being so strong and steady that typhoon, that storms do not fail them. Right?
Yep.
Similarly, when we have devotee association, each other support, that's like the redwood roots. So the devotees are supporting each other, you don't fall down.
Yep.
You may be a great devotee all by yourself, chances are Maya will catch you.
Of course.
But in the midst of other devotees supporting each other, you will not fall down. And that's the example.
Very nice example, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Mataji. So the reason I took the time to explain this also is that later on we'll see what other roots are of this tree. The 9 roots we'll talk about. Okay, let's do text 10. Jai Shri Madhavapuri Krishna Prema Pura Bhakti Kalpa Tarute Ho Prathama Ankura All glories to Sri Madhavendra Puri, the storehouse of all devotional service to Krishna. He is a desire tree of devotional service, and it is in him that the seed of devotional service first fructified. Okay, so let's read the purport and we'll explain what it is saying.
Shall I read, Prabhuji?
Of course, please go ahead.
Shri Madhavendra Puri, also known as Shri Madhava Puri, belonged to the disciplic succession from Madhvacharya and was a greatly celebrated sannyasi. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was the third disciplic descendant from Shri Madhavendra Puri. The process of worship in the disciplic succession of Madhvacharya was full of ritualistic ceremonies, with hardly a sign of love of Godhead. Sri Madhavendra Puri was the first person in that disciplic succession to exhibit the symptoms of love of Godhead, and the first to write a poem beginning with the words Ai Dina Dayardara Nata, O supremely merciful personality of Godhead. In that poem is the seed of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's cultivation of love of Godhead.
Yeah, thank you. So, who knows who's Madhavendra Puri?
Is he the Kichor Gopinath?
Peter.
No.
The one for
For
whom
whom?
Gopinath had stolen the
Yes,
kheer?
yes, but more than that, who is he in relation to Lord Chaitanya?
He is the guru of the guru, right?
Correct. So,
Yes.
he is the spiritual master of Ishwar Puri, who is the spiritual master of Lord Chaitanya.
Correct.
So, up until his time, as in the disciplic successor of Madhvacharya, up until this time, the Lord Krishna was worshipped alone, and the emphasis was on the rituals. Do this arti, do this bhoga, do this mantra, face this way, face that way. All the rituals were, this mudra, this tantra, and all those kind of things. But there was no love. It was all rituals. He was the first one in that disciplic succession to introduce the concept of love of Krishna. He was the first one who worshipped Krishna and Radha together. He said they must be worshipped together. And he was the first one who worshipped Krishna in the conjugal mood. So he's known as the first seed in terms of the fruit being the love of Krishna. Okay. And the story of Madan Puri, of course, the Lord stole the kheer, but the Lord appeared twice in his dreams, and he appeared once in person. And that is how, and in Charitamrita it says, Lord said, when he came to Govinda Kund, Lord said that I was waiting for you. What took you so long? Imagine Lord saying to a devotee, I was waiting for you. So that's the caliber of Madhavendra Puri. His Nitya Siddha Swarup. Anybody knows what's Nitya Siddha Swarup?
Always liberated, Prabhuji?
Sorry?
Always liberated?
No. What is Nitya Swarup? What is form?
He is self-satisfied, has no material desire, nothing.
Mataji, what's his form? Like could be a cow,
Form.
could be.
Okay.
Sati, Manjiri.
So, no.
Like Prabhuji, it's a tree, right, in Golokunda, the spiritual word?
So say again?
Tree.
Yes,
No?
he's a tree, desire-fulfilling tree, Kalpavrakshataru in Golok Vrindavan. And when Krishna and Radha appeared in the material world Vrindavan, he also appeared as a tree under which there were many, many wonderful pastimes that Radha and Krishna were performed, and Madhavendra Puri was a witness. And then just before Lord Chaitanya appeared, he came back again as Madhavendra Puri, and that's when the pastime for Chichur Gopinath happened. So he's the first seed to fructify. Okay. He also wrote this wonderful poem, Ai Deen Dayal Nath, which is the sentiments of Radharani after Lord Krishna left Vrindavan to go to Mathura. And she's singing, you know, you're Mathura Nath now, you're no longer Vrindavan Nath. You're no longer Radha Nath. You're Mathura Nath. We're missing you here. Do you ever think of us? It's a very wonderful poem. Anyway, text 11. श्री ईश्वर पुरी रूपे अंकुर पुष्ट होइल आपने चैतन्य माली skandha upajil. The seed of devotional service next fructified in the form of Shri Ishwar Puri, and then the gardener himself, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, became the main trunk of the tree of devotional service. So the second seed to fructify was Ishwar Puri, the spiritual master of Lord Chaitanya. And the third to fructify was Lord Chaitanya himself. Okay? And that gardener then became the trunk of the tree, the main stem, trunk of the tree. Okay, let's read the purport.
Shall I go?
Please go ahead.
Shall
Yeah, go ahead.
Lila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakura writes in his Anubhashya, Sri Ishwarapuri was a resident of Kumarhat, where there is now a railroad station known as Kumarhatta. Nearby there is another station named Halisahara, which belongs to the Eastern Railway. This railway runs from the eastern section of Calcutta. Ishwarapuri appeared in the Brahman family and was the most beloved disciple of Srila Madhvendra Puri. In the last portion of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita until Lila, chapter 8, 28 to 31 verses, it is stated, Ishwarapuri Gosani Kare, Shripad Sevana, Swahaste Karena Mala, Mutradi Marjan, Nirantara Krishna Nama, Kariya Smarana, Krishna Nama Krishna Lila, Sunaya Anukshana, Tustahana Puri Tanre, Kela Alingana, वार दिला कृष्णे तोमार है हौ का प्रेम धन सही है ते ईश्वरपुरी प्रेमारु सागर. At the last stage of his life, Sri Madhavendra Puri became an invalid and was completely unable to move, and Ishwarapuri so completely engaged himself in his service that he personally cleaned up his stool and urine, always chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra and reminding Sri Madhavendra Puri about the pastime of Lord Krishna in the last stage of his life. Ishwarapuri gave the best service among his disciples. Thus, Madhavendra Puri, being very pleased with him, blessed him, saying, "My dear boy, I can only pray to Krishna that he will be pleased with you." Thus, Ishwarapuri, by the grace of his spiritual master, Sri Madhavendra Puri, became a great devotee in the ocean of love of Godhead. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti states in his Guru Ashtaka prayer, Yasya prasadat bhagavat prasado, Yasya prasadan nagati kutupi. By the mercy of the spiritual master, one is blessed by the mercy of Krishna. Without the grace of the spiritual master, one cannot make any advancement. It is by the mercy of the spiritual master that one becomes perfect, as vividly exemplified here. A Vaishnava is always protected by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But if he appears to be an invalid, this gives a chance to his disciples to serve him. Ishwarapuri pleased his spiritual master by service, and by the blessings of his spiritual master, he became such a great personality that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted him as his spiritual master.
Yeah, thank you, Mataji. So here Srila Ishwar Puri is being glorified by talking about his service to his own spiritual master. This is called menial service to the spiritual master, cleaning him up, discussing Krishna Katha with him all the time, chanting with him all the time, and just serving him to please him with whatever it took. And actually, there was another disciple of Srila Madhavendra Puri. His name was Ramchandra Puri. And he was always very critical of the Vaishnavas. So he was doing this Vaishnava aparadh all the time. One of the problems with Vaishnava aparadh is that soon it advances to Guru aparadh. So from Vaishnava aparadh, you move to Guru aparadh. And from Guru aparadh, then you move to Bhagavad aparadh. You start blaspheming the deity and the Lord himself. So this is what happened to Ramchandra Puri. He saw how sentimental Srila Madhavendra Puri was in terms of crying for Lord Krishna, showing that love for him. And he was always criticizing his own guru. What is this? Now remember, before Madhavendra Puri was all ritualistic, just criticizing for not doing the rituals and just crying and calling out his name. He said, what is this? And why are you calling Radha? You should be calling Krishna. So it came to a point where Madhavendra Puri asked him to get out of his vision. He said, get out of my eyes. I don't want to see you anymore. And he threw him out. He said, never come back here. I don't ever see you. And same Ramchandra Puri then went ahead and offended Lord Chaitanya. So this is what I mean. So from Vaishnava aparadh, you move to Guru aparadh. From Guru aparadh, you move to Bhagavad aparadh. At the same time, Ishwar Puri was serving his Guru so nicely that Srila Madhavendra Puri blessed him to get the love of Krishna. And with that blessing, not only he got the love of Krishna, he also became the spiritual master of Krishna as Lord Chaitanya. So that's the power of the blessings which you get from serving your spiritual master. Okay, let's read the next paragraph.
Of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But before initiating Lord Chaitanya, he went to Navadvipa and lived for a few months in the house of Gopinath Acharya. At that time, Lord Chaitanya became acquainted with him, and it is understood that he served Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by reciting his book Krishna Lilamrit. This is explained in Sri Chaitanya Bhagavata Adi Khanda, chapter 11.
Right. So the explanation there is that Lord Chaitanya met Srila Ishwar Puri. This is before he became the spiritual master of Lord Chaitanya. And they had a nice conversation. They were both very impressed with each other. And Srila Ishwar Puri told Lord Chaitanya about this book he had written, Krishna Lilamrit. And he said to him, will you please edit my book? Because you're such a scholar. And Lord Chaitanya very humbly said, whatever you write, it must be okay. There's nothing to criticize. There's nothing to edit. So this book is good as it is. But Srila Ishwar Puri insisted that, no, I want you to critique this book. So Lord Chaitanya said, okay. So he went there, he read it, came back, and he pointed out one mistake in the whole book. Ishwar Puri heard that, he looked at it, and he said, no, I'm sorry, I don't agree with you. What I've written is correct, and explained it. Now let's pause for a second. Lord Chaitanya had already developed such a wonderful reputation for being a scholar that he would debate with other people, even people like Mukunda and Gadadhar Pandit. So for example, one day he caught Gadadhar Pandit I said, please explain to me what liberation means. And the other Pandit said, that's a cessation of material activities and material desires and material attachments. And Lord Chaitanya disagreed, proved him wrong. So Vedanta Pandit said, okay, fine, then you're right. He said, no, I'm wrong. He proved himself wrong, what he established is right. So my point is, he was such a scholar, he could do all that. But when Ishwar Puri said, no, I don't agree with you, this is correct, he immediately said, yes, you're right. Did not argue with his would-be guru because he's such a pure devotee. So that's another Vaishnava etiquette. You don't criticize other Vaishnavas' work. And you definitely don't argue with a senior devotee. If he says this is right, that's right. Finish. No ego here. No, I know better than you. If you're saying so, it's right. So anyway, my point is that is how Lord Chaitanya served Ishwar Puri, and Ishwar Puri served Lord Chaitanya by reciting the book to him. That's a service. Okay. Let's read the next paragraph.
Shall I continue, Prabhu?
Please continue.
To teach others by example how to be faithful disciple of one's spiritual master, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, visited the birthplace of Ishwarapuri at Kumarahatta and collected some earth from his birth site. This he kept very carefully, and he used to eat a small portion of it daily. This is stated in Chaitanya Bhagavata, Adikhanda, chapter 17. It has now become customary for devotees following the example of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to go there and collect some earth from that place.
Right.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So the idea is that the birth site of a spiritual master becomes the holy site. And therefore the earth there is holy and spiritual and giver of love of Krishna. So we should go, as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu showed, go to the birthplace of our own Guru, get some earth, and taste it every day. Okay, text 12. निज अचिंत्य शक्ते माली होया स्कंद होए सकल शाखार से स्कंद मूलाश्रय. By his inconceivable powers, the Lord became the gardener, the trunk, and the branches simultaneously. So if you try to understand that from a material point of view, it would not make any sense. So Saskar is saying that's inconceivable power of the Lord, that he can be the gardener, he can be the trunk, and he can be the branches all at the same time. Okay, now they're going to talk about the 9 roots that I was referring to before, 13 to 15. Paramananda Puriyar Keshava Bharati, Brahmananda Puriyar, Brahmananda Bharati, Vishnu Puri, Keshav Puri, Puri Krishnananda, Shinasingha Tirth Ar, Puri Sukhananda, Ei Nava Mula, Nikasile Vraksha Mule, Ei Nava Mule Vraksh, Karile Nischale. Translation: Paramanand Puri, Keshav Bharati, Brahmanand Puri, and Brahmanand Bharati, Shri Vishnu Puri, Keshav Puri, Krishnananda Puri, Nisingha Tirth, and Sukhananda Puri. These 9 sannyasi roots all sprouted from the trunk of the tree. Thus the tree stood steadfastly on the strength of these 9 roots. This is what we were talking about, the redwood tree example. So these 9 roots are supporting the main trunk. So notice all these 9 people are senior to Lord Chaitanya. And that's why they can form the root of the tree. The tree is resting on the roots. So these roots are holding the tree. This it says that the tree stood steadfastly on the strength of these 9 roots. So any tree stands upright on the strength of the roots. That's why they say if you cut the roots, the tree falls down. Okay. So let's very long.
So here Puri and Bharti, hierarchy wise, do we know anything?
Sorry, Prabhu, say it again.
The Puri, this is a title, right? Puri is the title.
Yes.
Is I think level or position, right? Level. Puri is the level.
Who is
The
what?
Bharti is level or
Designation. You want to say designation?
Yeah.
Are you talking about grade, Prabhu?
Grade.
Grade level.
Hierarchy, Prabhuji, right?
Okay, let us finish. Let him finish.
Yeah. It's a hierarchy, right? So Puri above that Bharti or Bharti like
Okay, so
that.
Prabhu, these titles are actually the Mayavadi titles.
Oh,
Okay.
Okay, so you have the Puri, you have Tirtha,
Saraswati.
you have
right?
Bharti.
Oh.
Now, I don't know what the hierarchy is there, but they are different communities, titles, whatever you want to call it. Okay, but they're like separate branches of Mayavadis. So I don't know if there's hierarchy. If there is, I'm not sure. But that's not the point. The point is that these are not Mayavadis. They're actually devotees. But in those days, there was no Vaishnava sannyasis. So even the Vaishnavas, when they took sannyas, like Lord Chaitanya did, took from Mayavadi sannyasis. Okay. Now, it is mentioned somewhere that what was the name of the sannyas guru of Lord Chaitanya?
Keshav Bharti.
Keshav Bharti. Yes, correct.
Yes.
Keshav Bharti had actually been initiated as a Vaishnava. Then when he became sannyasi, he took the name Bharti as Mayavad name. And before Lord Chaitanya took sannyas from him, he gave Keshav Bharti the Gopal mantra. This is the mantra I want you to give to me. So then he gave Gopal mantra to Lord Chaitanya. So don't get mixed up. These are all devotees, but because in those days all the sannyasis were from Mayavadi sannyasis, they have Mayavadi names: the Bharti, the Tirtha, the Puri. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhu.
Sure. Okay.
All they are disciples of Madhavendra Puri?
So we'll get to that. So the answer is no, but we'll get to that.
Okay.
Let's do the purport. So let's talk first about Paramanand Puri. Who wants to read that?
I can read, Prabhu.
Go ahead.
Paramananda Puri.
And if you want, you can skip the poetry.
Okay. Paramananda Puri belonged to a Brahmin family of the Trihut district in Uttar Pradesh. Madhavendra Puri was his spiritual master. In relationship with Madhavendra Puri, Paramananda Puri was very dear to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In the Chaitanya Bhagavad, Antya Khanda, there's the following statement, and then I'll skip this. Among his sannyasi disciples, Ishwara Puri and Paramananda Puri were very dear to Madhavendra Puri. Thus, Paramananda Puri, like Swarup Damodar, who was also a sannyasi, was very dear to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and was his constant associate. When Lord Chaitanya accepted the renounced order, Paramananda Puri offered him the danda. Paramananda Puri was always engaged in meditation, and Sri Swarup was always engaged in chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. As Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu offered full respect to his spiritual master, Ishwar Puri, he similarly respected Paramananda Puri and Swarup Damodara. It is described in the Chaitanya Bhagavad, Antya Khanda, chapter 3, that when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu first saw Paramananda Puri, he made the following statement. Aji Danya Lochana, Safala Aji Janma, Safala Amara Aji Haila, Sarva Dharma, Prabhu Bale Aji Mora, Safala Sanyasa, Aji Madhvendra More, Ha Ila, Prakasha. My eyes, my mind, my religious activities, and my acceptance of the sannyas order have all become perfect because today Madhvendra Puri is manifest before me in the form of Paramananda Puri. The Chaitanya Bhagavad further states, Kathokshane anyo anye karena pranama Paramananda Puri Chaitanyera Priya Dama. Thus, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu exchanged respectful obeisances with Paramananda Puri, who was very dear to him. Paramananda Puri established a small monastery behind the western side of the Jagannath temple, where he had a well dug to supply water. The water, however, was bitter, and therefore Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu prayed to Lord Jagannath to allow Ganges water to come into the well to make it sweet. When Lord Jagannath granted the request, Lord Chaitanya told all the devotees that from that day hence, the water of Paramananda Puri's well should be celebrated as Ganges water. For any devotee who would drink it or bathe in it would certainly get the same benefit as that derived from drinking or bathing in the water of the Ganges. Such a person would certainly develop pure love of Godhead. It is stated in Chaitanya Bhagavat, Antya, Prabhu bhale amiye achiye prithivite निश्चयी जनिहा puri Boshanira prite. Prabhu, should I just continue?
Let's finish it because that's the end of the.
Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to say, I am living in this world only on account of the excellent behavior of Sri Paramananda Puri. The Gaura Ganodesha Dipika 118 states, Purish Sri Paramananda Ya Asad Uddhava Pura. Paramananda Puri is none other than Uddhava. Uddhava was Lord Krishna's friend and cousin. And in Chaitanya Lila, the same Uddhava became the friend of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his uncle in terms of the relationship in the disciplic succession.
Right. Thank you. So Paramanand Puri was just as dear to Srila Madhavan Puri as Ishwar Puri was. So those two disciples of Srila Madhavan Puri were very, very dear to him. And then they got the association of Lord Chaitanya, one as the Guru, that's Ishwar Puri, one as a friend, even though he was a spiritual uncle of Lord Chaitanya, but they became very close friends. So Madhavendra Puri, Paramanand Puri, Surup Damodar, Rai Ramanan, and Lord Chaitanya. They used to spend hours and hours together discussing Krishna Katha and very confidential discussions together. And then the story about how he dug a well and the water was bitter. So Lord Chaitanya prayed to Lord Jagannath to bring Ganga there. And Ganges came there. Lord Chaitanya told everybody this Ganges water. So bathe in it, get the same benefit. And it talks about Paramanand Puri being Uddhav in the Krishna Lila. Okay. Somebody wants to read about Keshav Bharati?
I can read, Prabhu.
Go ahead, Mataji.
Keshav Bharati. The Saraswati, Bharati and Puri Sampradayas belong to the Sringeri Mutt in South India, and Sri Keshav Bharati, who at that time was situated in a monastery in Katwa, belonged to the Bharati Sampradaya. According to some authoritative opinions, although Keshav Bharati belonged to the Shankara Sampradaya, he had formerly been initiated by a Vaishnava. He is said to have been a Vaishnava on account of having been initiated by Madhavendra Puri. For some say that he took sannyas from Madhavendra. Temple and deity worship started by Keshav Bharati are still existing, known as Khatundi, which is under the postal jurisdiction of Kandhara in the district of Burdwan. According to the managers of the mutt, the priests are descendants of, and some say that the worshippers of the deity are descendants of the sons of Keshav Bharati. In his householder life, he had two sons, Nishapati and Usapati, and a Brahmana of the name Sri Nakadi Chandra Vidyaratna, who was a member of the family of Nisapati. was the priest in charge at the time of Sri Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, at the time that Sri Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati visited this temple. According to some, the priests of the temple belonged to the family of Keshav Bharti's brother. Still, another opinion is that they descend from Madhav Bharti, who was another disciple of Keshav Bharti's. Madhav Bharti's disciple Balabhadra, who also later became a sannyasi of the Bharti Sampradaya, had two sons in his family life, named Madana and Gopala. Madana, whose family's surname was Bharti, lived in the village of Oriya, and Gopala, whose family's surname was Brahmachari, lived in the village of Denduda. There are still many living descendants of both families.
Finish the next paragraph also.
In the Gaura Ganodesha Deepika 52, it is said, Madhurayam Yagya Sutram Pura Krishnaya Yo Munihi Dadhu Sandipani Sobhud Adya Keshav Bharti. Sandipani Muni, who formerly offered the sacred thread to Krishna and Balram, later became Keshav Bharti. It is he who offered sannyasa to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. There is another statement about Keshav Bharti from the Gaura Ganodesha Deepika 117. Iti kechit prabhasante krura Keshav Bharti. According to some authoritative opinions, Keshav Bharti is an incarnation of Akrura. Keshav Bharti offered the sannyasa order to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the year 1432. Sakabd sannyasa order to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sakabd AD 1510 in Katwa. This is stated in the Vaishnava Manjusha Part 2.
Thank you, Madhuri. So again, Prabhu was talking about the hierarchy. So here again, three of the sampradayas in Shankaracharya's disciplic succession are mentioned: Saraswati, Bharati, and Puri. But doesn't talk about hierarchy here. Who's better? So again, I don't know the answer. But there are three different sampradayas. And again, Keshav Bharti was, according to some people, was initiated by Madhavendra Puri himself. And he's the one who gives sannyas to Lord Chaitanya. And in Krishna Lila, some people say Sandipani Muni, some people say Akrura, so whatever. Okay, next paragraph. Brahmananda Puri. Any volunteers for that?
Can I read, Prabhu?
Go ahead, please, yeah.
Brahmanand Puri. Sri Brahmanand Puri was one of the associates of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu while he was performing Kirtan in Navadvip. And he also joined Chaitanya in Jagannath Puri. We may note in this connection that the name Brahmananda is accepted not only by Mayavadi sannyasis, but by Vaishnava sannyasis also. One of our foolish god brothers criticized our sannyasi, Brahmananda Swami, saying that this was a Mayavadi name. The foolish man did not know that Brahmananda does not always refer to the impersonal Brahman. For a Brahman, the supreme Brahman is Krishna. A devotee of Krishna can therefore also be called Brahmananda. This is evident from the fact that Brahmanand Puri was one of the chief sannyasi associates of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Right. So again, another associate of Lord Chaitanya. Okay, next paragraph, please.
Do you want me to continue, Prabhu?
Okay, finish it, yeah.
Brahmanand Bharti. Brahmanand Bharti went to see Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at Jagannath Dham. At that time, he used to wear only a deer skin to cover himself. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu indirectly indicated that he did not like this deer skin covering. Brahmanand Bharti therefore gave it up and accepted a loin cloth of saffron color as used by Vaishnava sannyasis. For some time, he lived with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at Jagannath Puri.
Yes. So the story goes that Brahmanand Bharati came in front of Lord Chaitanya wearing a deer skin. And Lord Chaitanya said, "Where is Brahmanand Bharati? I don't see him today." He's standing right in front of him. And Lord Chaitanya is saying, "Where is Brahmanand Bharati? I don't see him." And then he understood that he's pointing out that it's not an appropriate dress for me to come in deer skin. So then from that day on, he started wearing the loincloth, saffron colored loincloth, which is the Vaishnava sannyasi dress. Okay. Text 16. मध्यमूल परमानंद पुरी महाधीर अष्टदिके अष्टमूल वृक्ष कैल स्थिर. With a sober and grave Paramanand Puri as a central root, and the other 8 roots in 8 directions, the tree of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu stood firmly. This is what we were talking about before. 9 roots. The central one is Paramanand Puri. Other 8 people that we read about, with 8 roots in 8 different directions. Does anybody know what the 8 different directions are? What are the 8 directions?
Prabhu, north, south, east, west, and then northeast, north.
Yes,
all the
yes, that idea. Yeah. The diagonals. So you have vertical, horizontal, and diagonals.
Yep.
Actually, there are 10 directions. What are the other 2?
Up and down.
Yes. So here they talk about the 8 directions because you talk about earth. So as you can imagine, with 9 roots, how strong the tree would be. And that's the point being made here. Text 17. Iskandher upare bahu shakha upajil. Upari shakha asankhya hoil. From the trunk grew many branches, and above them innumerable others. So again, if you see the tree, just to refresh your memory. All these branches.
Yep.
And then we'll talk about branches of the branches. See here?
Yep.
So the main trunk, the main 2 branches, and then other branches, and other branches, and branches over the branches. So where are we here? Maybe one leaf somewhere. Okay. All right. Text 18. विश्व विश्व शाखा करी एक एक मंडल महा महा शाखा होइल छाइल ब्रह्मांड सकल. Thus the branches of the Chaitanya tree formed a cluster or society with great branches covering all the universe. So like it's called a society, right?
Yeah.
International Society of Krishna Consciousness. Okay, this is the purport in English. Text 19. एक एक शाखाते उपशाखा शतशत जत उपजिल शाखा के करनी बेकत. From each branch grew many hundreds of sub-branches. No one can count how many branches thus grew. Text 20. मुख्य मुख्य शाखा गणे नाम गण अनगन अगणन आगे तक करी बशुन वृक्षेर वर्णन. I shall try to name the foremost of the innumerable branches. Please hear the description of the Chaitanya tree. Text 21. वृक्षेर ऊपरे शाखा होइल दुई स्कंध एक अद्वैत नाम और नित्यानंद. At the top of the tree, the trunk branched into 2. One trunk was named Shri Advaita Prabhu, other Shri Nityananda Prabhu. The 2 main trunks. Okay. Text 22. Sei dui skandhe bahu shakha upajil tar upashakha ganer jagat chail. From these 2 trunks grew many branches and sub-branches that covered the entire world. Text 23. Bada shakha upashakha tar upashakha jat upajile tar ke karibe lekha. These branches and sub-branches and their sub-branches became so numerous that no one can actually write about them. So many different societies, groups, sampradayas, not sampradayas, things like namhattas and things like that. Shishya, prashishya, or upashishyagan. Jagat Vyapilitar Nahik Ganam. Thus the disciples and the great disciples and their admirers spread throughout the entire world. It is not possible to enumerate them all. So this goes on and on and on. Text 25. Udumbar Vrakshajena Phale Sarva Ange Eimat Bhakti Vrakshe Sarvatra Phal Lage. As a big fig tree bear fruits all over its body. Each part of the tree, devotional service bore fruit. So let's read the purport and I'll explain this. Any volunteers who are not read it yet?
I'll read, Prabhu.
Okay.
This tree of devotional service is not of the material world. It grows in the spiritual world, where there is no distinction between one part of the body and another. It is sometimes like a tree of sugar, or whichever part of such a tree one tastes, it is always sweet. The tree of bhakti has varieties of branches, leaves, and fruits, but they are all meant for the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There are 9 different processes of devotional service: Sarvanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Samranam, Padsevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakhyam, Atam Nivedanam. But all of them are meant only for the service of Supreme Lord. Therefore, whether one hears, chants, remembers, or worships, his activities will yield the same result. Which one of these processes will be the most suitable for a particular devotee depends upon his taste.
Yeah. So very wonderful example. Simile has been given. If you take any tree and lick its bark, is it going to be sweet? So take a mango tree and lick its bark. Would that be sweet?
No.
No.
If you lick its leaf, would it be sweet?
No.
No. Right? But if it's a sugar tree, then no matter what you lick,
Sugar cane.
right? So similarly, the 9 processes of devotional service, no matter which one you go with, it's all sweet. Which one you go with depends upon your taste. But any one of them will get you love of Godhead.
Yep.
Okay. Text 26. मूल स्कंदे शाखा और उपशाखा गणे लागिला जे प्रेम फल अमृत के जिने. Since Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was the original trunk, the taste of the fruits that grew on the branches and sub-branches surpassed the taste of nectar. So this is the tree of Lord Chaitanya. So clearly the fruits are going to be sweeter than the nectar. 27. पाकिल जे प्रेम फल अमृत मधुर विलाय चैतन्य माली नाहि लय मूल. The fruits ripened and became sweet and nectarian. The Governor of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu distributed them without asking any price. So what's the name of the ripened fruit of devotional tree? What's
Love of
Huh?
Sankirtan movement.
Love.
What's
Ripened
Love of
fruit is
God.
the love of God.
Yes, love of Godhead.
Yeah.
Krishna is the ripened fruit. So that is sweet and nectarian, no matter what. And that sweet nectarian and sweet fruit that Lord Chaitanya distributed without asking for any price. And then 28 explains even further. त्रिजगते जत आछे धन रत्नी मणि एक फलेर मूल्य करी ताहा नाहि गणी. All the wealth in the 3 worlds cannot equal
The value of
value of one such nectarian fruit of devotional service. You can have $1 billion, but that does not equate with the fruit of devotional service. Similarly, somebody who has got the love of Krishna in their heart, you can give them $1 trillion, but they will not sell it. But that's worth more than $1 trillion.
Yep.
Okay. However, text 29 says, मांगे वह ना मांगे केहू पात्र व अपात्र इहार विचार ना ही जाने देय मात्र. but not considering who asked for it, who did not. But basically, Lord Krishna says, Mango pehle. But Krishna, you ask me, surrender to me. And you ask for it, I'll give it to you. Lord Krishna says, Mango ya na mango. You ask for it or not. Nor who was fit or unfit to receive it. What did Lord Krishna said? What's the criteria for being fit? What is Krishna's demand?
Surrender.
Huh?
Full surrender.
Surrender.
Sarva dharma parityajya. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Full surrender. He demanded that first. And then he said, Man mana bhava bhakto. Daji Mamnasko, pranam karo हमको. Rachita se mango ya na mango, pranam karo na karo. No criteria. He distributed the fruit of devotional service. You asked for it or not. You qualified or not. He just gave it anyway. So let's see the purport. Please go ahead, Mataji.
Okay. This is the sum and substance of the Lord Chaitanya Sankirtan movement. There is no distinction made between those who are fit and those who are not fit to hear or take part in the Sankirtan movement. It should therefore be preached without discrimination. The only purpose of the preachers of the Sankirtan movement must be to go on preaching without restriction. There is the way in which Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu introduced this Sankirtan movement to the world.
Yeah. So we talked about those who asked for it, those who did not ask for it. We talked about those who are fit, those who are not fit. What about the offenders? What did Lord Chaitanya give love of Krishna to the offenders or not?
Yeah, he will give. He will give.
What's the example?
Jagai Madai.
Jagai Madai, that's exactly right. So he even gave. Of course, he waited for Lord Nityananda to forgive them first, but still he gave it. Okay, so this is why when we go out to preach, and we are all supposed to go out and preach, there's no consideration of fit or unfit. Whoever we meet, jaake dekho tare ko, whomever we meet, we're supposed to preach. Give them Krishna consciousness without restriction. And how? Let's see text 30. Anjali Anjali Bhari, Thele Chatur Dishe, Daridh Kundaya Khaye, Malakar Hase. The transcendental gardener, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, distributed handful after handful of fruit in all directions. He basically threw them. And when the poor, hungry people ate the fruit, the gardener smiled with great pleasure. So who are these poor, hungry people?
Those who are not devotees, those who are not Krishna conscious.
Okay, yeah. So those who do not have love of Krishna in their heart,
yeah.
They are poor. Those who love Krishna in the heart, they're the richest. And those who do not have,
they are poor.
And those who are non-devotees, they're poorest. But he said, doesn't matter. I'm throwing it out. You take it and you eat. A lot of stories when he went to the South India, a lot of stories along those lines, how freely he distributed to everybody. 31. Malakar kahe shuna vriksha parivar, mool shakha, upashakha, jate ke prakar. Lord Chaitanya thus addressed the multifarious varieties of branches and sub-branches of the tree of devotional service. So, Vriksha Parivar, all the trunks, all the branches, all the sub-branches, all the twigs, all of them, all of you go and distribute the love of Krishna. So, nobody is an exception. You're part of the tree, you preach. Text 32. अलौकिक वृक्ष करे सर्वेंद्रिय कर्म स्थावर हो या धरे जंग मेर धर्म. So what does स्थावर mean? Anybody?
Unmovable.
Sorry?
Unmovable.
Unmovable, yes. And jangam means?
Movable.
Movable. Right? So the reason I asked you is here. Since the tree of devotional service is transcendental, every one of its parts can perform the action of all others. Although a tree is supposed to be immovable, this tree nevertheless moves. So tree is supposed to be tower, right? Fixed in one place. Anybody seen a tree walk?
No.
No, because it doesn't walk. It's tower, right?
Fixed.
The animals in the forest are jungle. They're movable. But the tree starts to move because it's not material tree, it's transcendental tree. What's the other quality of transcendental? What does Brahma Samhita say? We chant it every day in the temple. Angani yas sakalendriya vrittimanti, right? Have you heard that? Anybody heard that?
Yes.
Come on, you have all heard it.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes.
Angani sakalendriya vrittimanti pashanti panti chayam kalyanti, right? Ananda chinmaya sadhujal vigrahasya govindamadi purusha. And it basically says all the senses of Krishna are interchangeable. He can eat with his eyes. He can see through his ears. He can eat through his drink through his ears. But please, you don't try that. Krishna can do that. So similarly, all the branches, sub-branches, the twigs, the trunks of this tree can perform the function of any other thing. Okay, let's read the purport.
I can read, Prabhuji.
Please go ahead.
It is our experience in the material world that trees stand in one place. But in the spiritual world, a tree can go from one place to another. Therefore, everything in the spiritual world is called alokik, uncommon, or transcendental. Another feature of such a tree is that it can act universally. In the material world, the roots of a tree go deep within the earth to gather food, but in the spiritual world, the twigs, branches, and the leaves of the upper portion of the tree can act like the roots.
Right. So, same thing. You don't roots, the tree gets nourishment through the roots. And then that nourishment is passed over to the twigs and the leaves. But here the leaves can get directly, the twigs can get directly because it's a transcendental tree, and that's what the example of the interchangeable senses has been given. Okay, last verse for today. Text 33. Evrakshir anga hoy sabo asachetan bariya vyapula sabe sakal bhuvan. All the parts of this tree are spiritually cognizant, and thus as they grow, they spread all over the world. So this is why Sankirtan movement spreading all over the world, because they're all spiritually cognizant. Cognizant means they're conscious, they're aware, they know what's going on. So therefore they can spread all over the world. You don't have to take the root with you. You can do the job of the root yourself. You don't have to take the trunk with you. You can do the job of the trunk yourself. Okay. So I'll stop here. See if there are any questions or comments. No? Okay. Then Vansha Kalpatarubhyash.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Prabhuji,
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank
Hare
you.
Krishna.